Okay, welcome back to another episode of Streetwise English Podcast. I'm Carl. I'm here with a very special guest. I'm here with the one and only Matt Gibson of the world stage. He is known around the world for having the voice of God, literally. And you'll see what I'm talking about in a minute. Welcome, Matt.
Thank you, Carl. Thank you so much. What a wonderful introduction.
and I'm not joking. This Matt has narrated the Old Testament Bible.
Yes,
and
the Bible Experience Bible, the Old Testament. About half of it's in my voice, and it can be found on YouTube. It's called if you Google or YouTube the Bible Experience, any part of the Old Testament, the entire Old Testament is up on YouTube now. I understand.
And Matt, you've been in Hollywood. You've been on Broadway.
Yes,
You've managed jazz clubs. And
That's right. And I'm presently matriculating here at the beautiful world stage.
and was a prolific Navy photographer back in the day.
That's right. That's right.
So today I'm trying to get Matt to share some of his secrets with us about how to learn to play the piano, because I know that Matt he's done all kinds of musical instruments, including the flute and the piano, and what else? Drums.
The hand drums, yes. Hand percussion.
Yes. And can we just narrow this in a little bit, and we'll start by talking about what kind of advice you have for people that are interested in learning the piano, but for whatever reasons they've never gotten into it in life.
Mm-hmm. Well, first of all, the piano is a percussion instrument. So when you think about getting into the piano, think about the piano like a drum, like 88 drums. And if you're just starting out on the piano, there are a couple of basic things that if you just do these basic things, you'll get off on the right foot. First of all, you don't have to have a full-scale acoustic piano to learn the piano. You can have a simple keyboard available very inexpensively for under $100. And for children, I think that would be a great thing to do, to get a small keyboard for your child as young as you possibly can. And 1 second. And
You need to pause?
yes, we can pause it for a second. I don't.
Yeah. So I think you're talking about children.
Yes. As I was saying, I think for a person starting out on the keyboard, every child should have a little electronic keyboard. A very inexpensive keyboard will have percussion sounds on it. Will also have, just various different keyboard sounds like organs and every sort of sound you might be able to imagine you can get on a simple, inexpensive keyboard. And even a small child will get great pleasure out of that. The first thing you need to know about the piano is where middle C is. If you can find middle C, there are 2 black keys together. The keyboard's arranged in 2 black keys, then 3 black keys, and 2 black keys, and 3 black keys, and a bunch of white keys down at the bottom. If you find those 2 black keys right in the center, the first white note to the left of those 2 black keys is middle C, right in the center of the piano. If you can find middle C, the piano can open up to you. The beauty of the piano is that as you go to the right, the notes get higher, and as you go to the left, the notes get lower. If you can learn to play a simple scale, which is the do re mi scale, do re mi fa sol la ti do ti la sol fa mi re do. Those are from middle C up 8 notes is the first octave of the piano, from the center of the piano, from middle C. If you start there and learn to play just that 1 octave, and then learn to play it with your right hand and learn to play it with your left hand. And then you'll learn to play chords, which if you play 1 note and skip a note and play the second note and skip another note and play a third note, you'll have played a chord. And every grouping of notes where you play one note, skip the second note, and play the third note, skip the fourth note, and play the fifth note. Any configuration of those 3 notes is a chord of some sort. And the piano, people think it's very difficult. It's very, very simple. And in this day and age, when with the internet availability of tutorials on basic piano, it would be very simple if you have a very basic keyboard. Just get you a basic keyboard. And it's not just for children. The piano is for older adults too, because as you get older, you still need to play around a little bit. And a keyboard, a musical instrument, there is nothing better in the whole world than to sit down with your instrument and play a few beautiful notes. Make a joyful noise whenever you can.
Thank you for that, Matt. That was really interesting, and I'm sure that I'm going to go and test some of these things out myself. It made me think of a late Jimmy Mendenhall.
Yes, the great Jimmy Mendenhall.
And I remember I had the pleasure of meeting him, and he told us the story about how that when he was he had a stroke, I believe,
right,
and he lost function of like his left hand, the whole one side of his whole body,
yes,
right?
He did.
But he was an amazing piano player for I don't know how many 60 years
yes,
or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And can you revisit that story?
I would love to, Carl. I'm so glad you remember that. This is the man he mentioned, Mr. James Howard Mendenhall. The great Jimmy Mendenhall was the house pianist at the world stage for many, many years, perhaps 15 to 20. He died a few years ago. He was such a beautiful guy, and he recounted to us, he had a stroke after playing all over the world. He, by the way, Carl, was a Navy guy, and I don't know if I mentioned to you, he was the coxswain for an admiral, and because he played the piano, the admiral took him everywhere he went. And Jimmy would play the piano at all of the Navy functions. And I even have a picture of this man, but I won't belabor that for now. But Jimmy, he just was such a beautiful guy. And what story are we telling now?
We're getting back to the after he had a stroke, he lost function of his
Let me
hand.
go on.
Yeah.
Thank you. He had a stroke after playing our jam sessions here at the world stage for many years. He had a stroke and was hospitalized for a long time, and then went into a nursing home. And we thought we'd never have the benefit of him. And they moved him around from nursing home to nursing homes. His speech was impeded. He lost the use of his left hand completely for a while and was in very, very bad shape, and we thought we were going to lose him. Well, they moved him from nursing home to nursing home, and he was abandoned by some of his family members as though he was giving up being a goner. But they moved him to a nursing home that had a piano in the rec room, and Jimmy started going to the rec room, being totally paralyzed on his left hand. Well, the piano brought him all the way back from being paralyzed to playing as good as he ever played. And he loved the piano so much. The love of music and the piano reinvigorated the whole side of his body. He played just as good as he ever was, and you would never have thought he ever had a stroke by his piano playing. And it made us all so happy, and we had him many more years after his stroke. So we loved him, and we still love him now. And on my piano at home, I have his business card, and I look at his name every day, the great Jimmy Mendenhall, my man.
Jimmy. Yeah, I remember he said that he looked at the piano, but his hand wouldn't move. He couldn't move, so he played with his right hand, mm-hmm. and he was only playing one-handed. And then, I don't know, over the course of time, his left hand started fidgeting a little bit. The neurons started connecting in his brain
somehow,
rewiring, mm-hmm. and then it was like a miracle. He was playing. Right. With both hands.
And that's the miracle of music. Music is one of the only things, the moment you make a sound, you have created something. And if you have good intentions behind the sound, if you are making a joyful noise, or if your heart is full of love or sorrow or sadness or reminiscence, and you make a sound as an expression of that inner emotion, you have created something instantly. You have created something. The whole universe is changed by each sound that you make, like a pebble in a stream. When you throw a pebble into a still pond and the ripples go out to the shore, the sounds that are made in music and in human communications, these change. The whole universe is changed. Light travels throughout the universe. You can but look into the sky and see the distant stars. Sound is a form of light. The motto of the world stage is seeking light through sound. Seeking light through sound. My God, where sound merges with light. The light is the creative force of the universe. We can see it with our naked eyes. The great stars in the sky that are literally millions of light years away, and yet those photons fall upon your eye and you can see the light from a distant planet. When one photon hits your eye, that photon has traveled for millennia, beyond millennia, for kalpas, for eons, for billions upon billions of light years to reach your eye. That photon is a real thing, and sound is the same way. Sound reverberates and expands, and as I said, a joyful noise brings joy on a very subtle level. So, music, everybody is a musician. As a matter of fact, I feel that everyone is a school of music. Every single human being, based on their own inclinations, their own likes and dislikes, their own experience. Everybody, whether you can be completely tone deaf, you can be completely deaf totally and not be able to even hear a sound. And you are a school of music, because within you is the primordial vibration. It's the primordial vibration. Air makes the sound. It is air makes the sound in the human voice. And it is the vocal folds that are vibrating. It is the vibration that the air going over the vocal cords, or a string being plucked, or a hammer hitting a string in a piano, or a horn making a beautiful sound. It goes into the inaudible. There's that which you hear, and then there's that which is unhearable, is in the inaudible, in the ultrasonic ranges, in the subsonic ranges. Well, that is where the harmonics of intent come into being, and where your good intentions have a good effect on those around you. This is why we love our great musicians, because something about them, the sounds they make, they may sound similar to others, but in fact, they are bringing a unique spirit of sound in the unheard realm. You hear certain things, but it's the harmonics that you can't hear that uplift you and heal you and clarify your understandings also, because good music raises your consciousness.
Yeah, Matt is sitting here, and I'm reading the sign behind his head, and it says "Seeking Light Through Sound," with the world stage symbol, and then below that it says "The Integration of Spirit in All Things."
There it is. I think that's such a noble motto and logo for us. I mean, and having been founded by the great jazz drummer Billy Higgins, who was like a hot griddle of drum sounds on the set drums. He sounded like bacon cooking. I always say that when he played. He was sizzling, baby. And having founded the world stage along with the wonderful poet Kamal Daoud, who is such a prolific, read his material, Kamal Daoud. That's Kamaudaoud, I believe, or W-D, Daoud. And incredible poet, the poet laureate of Leimert Park in Los Angeles, in my opinion. And his book, The Language of Saxophones, is a bestseller. Check it out.
The Language of Saxophones. Okay. All right. And then to bring this to a close, so all of this communication through sound and light and harmonics that we can't hear or see, it all starts with the middle C, right?
The middle C, that's right. The center of the piano, if you go to the right, the note gets higher in pitch. If you go to the left, it gets lower in pitch. So imagine music and pre-hear what you want to play. Hear it a little before you play it. Listen and try to hear a note. And then when you hear a note, try to find that note on the piano. And once you found the note you heard, see if you can, in your imagination, hear another note where that note would like to go, and see if you can find that note. And always try to hear a little bit ahead of where you're playing. And if you can hear that note, you'll hear when you don't hit it. And then next time you hear that note, you'll know it maybe go a little higher or it's a little lower. And you know one thing about the piano. If you go to the right, the notes get higher. And if you go to the left, the notes get lower. It's as simple as that. And if you don't hear any notes, try to imagine some notes. Try to hear it a little before you seek to find it on the piano. If you can hear it, you can pre-hear it a little bit. This is what a lot of musicians are doing, and they won't tell you that they are hearing. You wonder, how could they play all of these notes, and where are they getting? Well, while they're playing the notes that they're playing, they're imagining the notes coming up. They can already hear the ones that they're about to play, and where this is leading to, they have some sense of it, and they know the key that they're in, and you'll learn all about that. It's all very simple. Music is so simple, and it's so simple that people make it complex to confound the general public, to keep them out of the business so they can dominate it. They don't want you to know how simple it is. Everyone in the sound of my voice, every one of you is a school of music. The music you would make, no other living human that ever lived would come up with the things that you would make. And you just have to be bold and make some sounds. A child who can't even speak language, will get them a set of drums or a little keyboard that they can make some noise on it, because when you can't talk, if you can make some noise, you're a happy child. That's how they can communicate. Let me make a loud, let me hit a drum or a pot or scream or play it. But if you have a little piano, a little keyboard there, listen, some kids will take to it like water. They'll be playing the Rachmaninoff concerto in B-flat minor before you know it, and you'll be so proud.
Okay, Matt, thank you for sharing all of that. Can we give the listeners a little preview of what our next session is going to be about?
Well, I think next, from the music perspective, I would like to talk about the meditative nature of the bamboo flute, which I love, and I think the bamboo flute is the oldest instrument of all. Bamboo flutes occur naturally in nature. Birds peck a hole in a piece of bamboo, and when the bamboo dies and the wind blows, they whistle. Ancient hunters used bamboo whistles to signal one another in the forest primeval. And the bamboo flute, the sound of the bamboo flute is one of the divine sounds, like the harp. These are the ancient, the plucked string and the whistle, the bamboo flute. And I think it has a very, it has the ability to mimic the birds. And this is the first music. Humankind learned music from the birds, not some, a Billie Holiday of antiquity, but the birds, the beautiful songs that the birds. Can you imagine a million years ago when your foremother and your forefathers in the forest primeval, long, long ago, and the sounds that the birds made? The myriad birds, the birds that could fly, that were not chickens and being eaten by the locals, but the sweet music that the birds, the forests full of birds, the trees full of the most exotic singing that you can imagine. This is what the bamboo flute is about. The bamboo flute is the mimic of the birds. And I would like to talk about that in our next conversation.
That was a great preview. Maybe we can tie that in with since the most ancient instruments, the flute and, of course, the hand drum, maybe we can tie in the drumming. And I know you've got a great story about the trees here in the Mert Park, and you've got a collection of one-of-a-kind drums. So we'll save that for next time.
All right, Carl.
Thanks a lot, Matt.
My pleasure, Carl. Always good to see you, brother.
Thank you for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed that. And remember that you can find the written transcripts on our website, streetwisenglish.com. You can find the written transcripts. You can find images of our guest speakers. And you can also find information on how to email us or book an English lesson on the website, streetwisenglish.com. Thanks again, and we will see you next time.